Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Day Podcast. I'm Alex Urini,
And I'm Presley Davis.
and no, we are not Canadian, which
Well,
may or
we
may
have.
not. Sorry, which may or may not be our slogan for much longer.
Oh yes, that is a good point. You might just see that dropped without any warning in the future. But today we have our second not Presley.
Hi there, guys. My name is Alex Bennett, and I am the official Marvel consultant.
For the Day podcast.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
If any of us ever have any questions about Marvel stuff, we go to him. He comes to us about DC stuff. So yeah.
I get a daily update, or not a daily, a monthly update on Marvel, just to keep up with it.
We like to use Twitter for what texting should be used for, so all of our friends get to see it too.
We're so nice.
We like to be annoying.
But today we have some awesome Marvel news to come at you guys. It might not be news to a lot of people, but it's some discussion about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Marvel Comics in general. We've had some interesting stuff happen in the comics that I'm sure everyone is pretty torn over.
Like what, Presley?
Would you like to explain?
You'll just have to wait and see till the end of the podcast.
Which might be 30 minutes, might be 2.5 hours. You're just going to have to stick with us.
We don't know. You don't know. So we're just going to ride through this train together.
But to start it off, I think what everybody's kind of been talking about recently is Age of Ultron trailer.
I talk about it nonstop.
There are no strings on me.
You know what my favorite part about Disney buying this out is now we just get these random references to Disney movies, and people are like, why are they playing Pinocchio? And I'm like, because they can.
Because they own everything.
Basically, the first time I watched that trailer, I didn't realize that was the song until like the very end. I'm like, wait a minute, has that song been playing the entire trailer? They've been playing Pinocchio under my nose. No pun intended.
So quick question. Do you think Google's going to buy DC or Disney's going to buy Google in the end? Not DC, I meant Disney.
I think Disney's going to own everything in the end.
I sure do hope so. Mouse ears on everything.
Because then Batman could be at Disney World.
With Spider-Man. Spider-Man, Batman team up at Disney World.
I just think it's
singing
inevitable.
Let It Go. Oh my gosh. My mind would explode.
The snow grows wide on the mountain. That was my Batman voice for any wondering.
That was very good. That was very good.
I have one quick thing to say before we continue with Age of Ultron. If any of us have seen Exodus: Gods and Kings trailer,
which I haven't.
Okay, it stars as Moses, Christian Bale, and in the trailer he uses his Batman voice. And so all I can think is Moses is Batman through the entire film.
Wait, Moses isn't Batman?
I mean, Moses might be immortal and just become Batman.
Funny enough, there's a video on YouTube called Batman is Actually Moses, and it's like a bad retelling of Batman's origin story.
And then he parted the seas and walked on water.
To defeat Joker.
It was like, oh yeah, he didn't know who his original parents were, and he was shipped down the river in a basket where he was found by Alfred.
That's so great.
Alfred used him as a slave.
Oh.
Plot twist.
So Age of Ultron, what do you guys expect from this movie?
It to be awesome.
I expect James Spader to be the first man to get an Emmy for a movie.
For a movie?
For a movie. He'll also
just any movie.
He'll also
any movie
get
ever.
a Grammy and
especially
Peace Prize.
Well, that makes sense because Emmys are TV show awards.
Okay, got it. Maybe he'll make a guest appearance on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that we're like, dude, we have to give that guy a thing.
Ultron will have the worst plug-in ever to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. just as James Spader can get an Emmy. I mean, yeah, just his voice in that trailer was amazing. It went from like just really like broken Ultron, barely scratching the surface, to just being a full-blown robotic, just control. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's kind of always been Ultron's thing in the comics, is he was created to be better than a human, and so he's always trying to constantly upgrade until he can destroy all the humans.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like his deal. So
I can't wait for this.
It seems like Ant-Man's not going to be the creator of Ultron, which is a little disappointing in my book as a Super Marvel nerd.
I definitely think it'll be. I think it's almost positive that it's Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark.
But we've
Well,
been hearing that for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of been predicting this for a while, just since they didn't introduce Ant-Man forever.
Yeah.
But what it looks like from the trailer is one of like the corrupted Mark I armors is gonna get some sort of AI in it.
I would love to see that everyone's blaming Tony, and then at the end of the movie, we find out that is someone else that like corrupted one of the armors.
That'd be really interesting.
I don't know who it would be.
The villain from
I don't
Civil
think-
War.
That's true. We could have the villain from
the
Civil
guy they
War
just
do it.
cast. I
Who
don't
did they
know.
cast?
Some person is being cast for Civil War. Might be a senator, might be something else.
Don't check out DC Comics news for that because that would make no sense. I don't write for a Marvel site, so I don't know these things.
All right, so most excited for Age of Ultron. What do you guys think?
I think that he will win an Emmy for being Ultron. What I'm curious about is how does Captain America's shield break?
They'll stab it or something. Usually magic breaks it pretty good. Granted, Ultron's not really magic, is he?
No,
I mean it is owned by Disney.
we could have Scarlet Witch break it.
Oh, that's a good point.
That kind of ties into what I was going to talk about. Is I'm really excited that Hawkeye might get a bigger role in this movie
Oh, really?
because he was always the one who brought the twins into the Avengers.
Finally.
Mhm.
Finally.
Yeah, we need him to do something. We barely saw him as a hero. We mostly saw him as a villain in Avengers. He had the smallest of cameos in Thor, and we haven't seen him since.
My uncle is the biggest Hawkeye fan ever, and he's like yeah, he'll have a bigger role this time. I know it.
Maybe he won't be possessed by Loki for the majority of the movie and then be good enough to shoot a couple aliens out of the
While
sky.
not looking.
Yeah, I got this, guys. I just know where they are. I mean, seriously, I feel like if you gave me a bow and arrow that exploded on a rooftop, I would just be able to not look and shoot those things out of the sky. There were so many of them.
That's probably, yeah. I'm pretty sure anybody could.
I don't know about you guys, but I think my favorite thing for this film is the Hulkbuster armor.
Oh my gosh, that looks so good. It just looks so comic accurate, like in its entirety.
I've never seen like just a more amazing thing straight from the comics being brought to
My
a movie.
favorite part about it is he's wearing armor under the armor.
Which is what it is in the comics, correct?
I feel like it changes sometimes. My brother has the action figure from 20 years ago or whatever, and you pull up the hood and it's got like Tony Stark sitting inside, like working the controls with his hands.
Oh,
But then you have the other times when it is like a helmet on top of a helmet.
Helmetception.
So it varies. I've got so many helmets I don't know what to do with
How do I hold all these helmets?
on my head.
he must have been so mad when Ultron broke that one helmet.
Probably.
But moving on, it's just a lot of people are talking. Why is the Hulk fighting Tony, and what is going to be the fallout when all the other Avengers realize that Tony had a backup plan for them? Like, I think that's going to kind of tie into like kind of a Batman sort of thing. Like, I have a contingency plan for all of you.
Like the Justice League Doom or whatever. Like, kind of like that. But,
Exactly.
I think one of them's under mind control.
I'm betting the Hulk just gets pissed off. That's what normally happens.
I'm betting that
Hulk gets shot in the face. Hulk angry. Hulk destroy New York. I'm not going to let you destroy New York. In fact, I built this armor. Hulk smash. The end.
my favorite theory so far is that Bruce Banner finds out that Tony built something, Ultron, that is very dangerous and that he couldn't control, and he himself, having made something very dangerous that he couldn't control, the Hulk serum or
Making
whatever
himself.
you want to call it, making himself,
The big bomb.
wants to stop Tony, and Tony won't let him, and so they come to a clash.
There is-
Just a second. Do you know Hulk's actual origins, Presley?
It's always been like I remember like watching the TV series as a child, and he is like they're doing like nuclear testing, and he goes out into the field
Yeah.
and becomes the Hulk. Is that right?
Yeah, it's Rick Jones' fault. Rick Jones is like on the site. Bruce Banner sees him, goes and pushes him in a hole and gets blown up by the thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why you see Rick Jones and Hulk together for so much of the time.
Yeah.
Wasn't that in like the 70s TV show with Lou Ferrigno too?
I don't know.
There's something like that. There's
I used to watch that show as a kid. It was
Speaking of the
entertaining.
contingency thing, there was actually an episode of Hulk and the Agents of Smash about that, where like all of the Hulks and whatever were really mad at Tony for having all these armors that could take them down.
That's one of those shows that people keep telling me I should watch, and I'm just like, I don't
That
got
was
time.
the only episode I've ever seen of it.
The one episode.
Yeah, Paul Dini writes it, so it must be pretty good.
I totally know who
He's
that
the guy
is.
that wrote most of the episodes for Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Probably Alex and mine favorite TV series as a kid.
You mean Spider-Man the
That one
Animated
was
Series?
one of my favorites too. I love that.
I used to watch that one a lot.
Spider-Man.
No, the only moment I can remember from the Spider-Man animated TV show is when they're trying to like hack into the Kingpin's computer system, and Peter Parker goes, "I'll have to use every bit of my hacker skills to get into this," and then he types in the name Richard, and it works, and he's like, "Haha, Kingpin used the name of his son." I'm the best hacker around. Thank you, Spider Powers.
That's hilarious.
No, I just remember getting so mad when, like I was watching kind of like, I don't know, I guess reruns of the show when I was a kid, and we see Mary Jane just going throughout the dimensions because of the, like, black hole particle gun. That,
Oh, yeah.
You know, Hobgoblin and Kingpin, everyone was using.
Yeah, she was gone by like season 2. Just
Yeah, and
not
she
in
was
the-
gone for just seasons. Like at the end of some episodes, we'd just see her floating around in this trippy space.
Well, that's how the show ends. In the very last episode, after Spider-Man saves like whatever was happening with the
Right.
spider carnage, Madam Web was like, "All right, you've done your part. Now let's go find Mary Jane."
And that ends, and I was so mad that it ended like that.
That show was just weird. It was hard to follow as a kid.
Uh-huh.
It was. We had, I think, one of the most just confusing characters was probably Smythe.
Yeah, Alistair Smythe.
He
it
was
doesn't-
such a confusing character.
It doesn't give much backstory because he was just like with Kingpin, and then one day he got mutated into like the laser shoulder thing.
And then he's not, and then he is, and nobody knows.
Uh-huh. They definitely weren't very good with continuity back in the day.
They were not.
And was it Fox? Whoever showed it on TV was not very good at putting them in
Pretty sure
order.
it's
I thought it
Fox.
was Disney. Or it was
Yeah.
Fox? Dang.
I think it got to Disney XD like more recently.
When Disney bought Marvel and was like, ha ha ha, we'll take all of this.
I think it was actually before that. I think
Because
because
I used to watch it as a kid, and I thought
I think
was
it
on
originally
Disney.
aired on Fox.
Okay.
They just replayed it on Toon Disney,
Disney.
or whatever.
Yeah.
yeah, and then Disney
Yeah.
XD.
They play it now?
What?
Probably at
play
like
it now?
midnight.
No, Spectacular Spider-Man is the most recent one you would show reruns of.
Oh, that one might be better. I really like that.
No,
It just had a better plot in general. We've digressed so far from Major Pokemon.
quick note about Spectacular Spider-Man. I've never seen it, like any episodes of it.
Are you? You
should
need to go watch
all of
every
it.
episode.
You'll hate yourself because it's totally canceled at the worst part.
It gets canceled at season 2 as like this giant twist gets thrown in. You're like, they can do so much with the next season, and then they're like, guess what? Disney bought it. Ultimate Spider-Man. You're like, okay, Drake Bell's the voice, and you watch the first episode, and it's like, this is Dora the Explorer with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Big plot twist at the end of season 2. Presley, this sounds very familiar.
What might have happened? Where, you know, we get introduced to someone like Darkseid at the end of some DC not kids, but teen, young.
Young.
They were fighting for justice. Maybe Young
don't know.
Justice.
Do you guys remember how the Spider-Man, the animated series, ended just before it launched into Justice League?
I do.
it was like the darkest moment in children's TV history because Superman had just like saved the world from Darkseid, and Darkseid goes, "Well, you can't win the day completely," and then he lasers the commissioner, like the police officer, and he just like disintegrates.
Yep.
Yep.
That happened.
That's how the show ended.
Then they had that little gap where Batman Beyond was on, and they're like, okay, I think the people have forgotten about that horrible ending by now, so we can bring it back.
Well, I think Batman Beyond was just getting into its stride in its last season. I rewatched it like a couple years ago. They were like, let's actually train him to be good, so he's not just using the bat armor to do whatever. And so they made it like 3 episodes in, and it just got canceled. So they ended up doing that time skip in Justice League Unlimited, where they showed what happened to him. He like proposed to Donna or whatever, and then it ended.
That was a little bit of a weird TV show, just for me, because I used to watch animated series a lot, and then we have Batman Beyond. I don't know. It was either hard for me to watch like old Bruce, or it was just like such a weird future.
Like what made it easier for me was the fact that New Batman Adventures, like the style was like a transitional style between the two.
Yeah.
I mean, like it was different than the original, but it was still good. But it was just kind of a little weird at times. But then you're like, whatever. Still Batman.
Still punching guys in the face.
Oh yeah. We really have launched far from Age of Ultron.
But that was all of our childhood comic shows right there. But going back to Age of Ultron, we've kind of talked about Hulkbuster a little, but really, I think the main thing is that like, can he build that kind of suit to really keep up with Hulk? I mean, in the comics, yes, but like in the movies, we kind of see that nothing has really stood in Hulk's way.
Well, in the comics, nothing's ever held up against the Hulk. In the most recent comic crossover, Original Sin, this is spoilers, by the way, Hulk found out that Iron Man had messed with the Gamma Bomb the night before, and so he like extremist his brain and was hunting down Tony Stark. And Tony Stark had like made this whole battle city that could turn into a giant Iron Man armor, and Hulk just like tore through it, getting to Tony Stark. It was pretty bad.
Dang.
Yeah. So, yeah, Tony Stark has never really been able to build anything that holds up to Hulk as much as like stall him until Thor hits him with a lightning bolt or something, or he falls down.
Yeah, that's what I think a lot of people have been saying. It's not to stop him; it's more to control.
Mm-hmm. Directing, aiming.
Yeah, and so we don't know what's happening. Maybe Ultron has found another villain has found a way to make Hulk angry enough to fight his fellow comrades. That's what I don't want in this movie, by the way, is the same exact thing as Avengers 1.
I just want to know what happened to the leader. Because the leader was at the end of the Hulk movie in 2007?
Yeah,
2008.
And we just completely ignored past that. The post-credit was like, we're building the Avengers. And then nothing else happened.
Another thing, have you guys seen the clip called like Thor's Hammer or something?
It's perfect.
It's so funny. Have you not seen it?
Is it the one where they're trying to pull the
hammer off the table?
Oh, I was thinking of when Stan Lee stuck the hammer to a pickup truck and tried to rip it out of the ground.
Oh no, that was hilarious. But no, it's a little clip right in front of the trailer. Like they made a new extended trailer, and the only difference is that like you have this little clip in front of it, and it's really funny. That's what I want to see out of Avengers 2. I want to see, a good amount of humor, but like a very serious tone.
Lots of shawarma. I want to see lots and lots of shawarma.
And that we don't see the first movie just repeated. I don't want to see like, oh, the Avengers getting back together, we're all fine, and then they all fight each other, and then they band together to defeat Ultron, and nothing happens.
Another nuke launched at Manhattan.
Exactly.
I want to see dark consequences for once.
Yes. But I don't think we'll get any deaths just because it's Marvel. Who knows? Maybe they're through taking flack for this, and they're finally going to kill off Iron Man. They won't kill off Iron Man. They might kill.
No, I think the first like major death we're gonna see is at the end of Civil War.
Yes, we could see someone die in the crosshairs of Tony Stark and Iron Man.
I'm just gonna say
Tony Stark and
if Captain America doesn't die, I'm gonna be very upset.
If he does die, I'll be very upset.
Well, I mean, I'll cry just like an Amazing Spider-Man 2, but I'll be like, justice has been served. He'll be back in a little while.
He'll be back eventually.
He's always back.
My favorite part about the clip where they're all trying to pick up the hammer is when Steve tries to pull it up, it moves a little bit.
Yeah, because he has picked it up before.
Several
and Thor
times.
is like, his face is immediately goes like, oh no. Oh no, oh no, oh no.
What? Am I unworthy? Plug into
Netflix.
The new Thor comic is kind of like throwing me through a loop, because their opening thing was like, this is not a female version of Thor, this is not Thor and da-da-da-da-da, this is Thor. And so what it's looking like right now is the hammer's got its own consciousness that like embodies the justice of Thor. And then there's some female character that we've apparently been introduced to before, but it's not telling us any names yet. It's probably Thor's romantic member from Thor God of Thunder comics. Go back and read that. It was the best thing Marvel put out in the past few years. So it's probably just her hammer, who's got like the justiceness of Thor racing through her body.
That sounds metal.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
I don't know. I think right now they're like, we need all new stuff in Marvel, and it's just not working out well.
They couldn't really, they didn't have the guts to completely reboot it like DC did. And so,
honestly, I'm really liking the New 52. It's done really well, 'cause it was just an awesome pickup point
what
for me.
it did is it picked up all the pieces from just Infinite Crises and everything.
And threw them away.
And it, it simplified it on 52 different lines.
Now it's down to 30.
And now it's down to only 30 because they're just slashing everything. And what we got now is just not new origins, but tapered origins, and we just have kind of a restart on everyone's character to build on now. And so we're seeing new things that might not be completely new ideas, but they're fresh.
And in the first issue of Aquaman, the entire issue is just people making fun of Aquaman. You can't eat fish and chips. You talk to fish. I don't talk to fish. Sure you do. You're Aquaman.
Isn't that the best comic ever, though? Jeff Johns is
I'm really enjoying it right now.
I know.
His hair is so cool.
His hair is fantastic.
His hair is amazing.
So flowy.
Always. I think the only time I haven't liked his hair is in Superman, the animated series.
Oh, because it was all triangular.
I don't like that.
Do you like his long flowing hair in Justice League?
Who would?
Yes.
Do you like him with or without beard?
Oh. That's so tough because when he has a beard, he looks so man. But then when he doesn't, he's like a king.
Yeah, I think I prefer without. I haven't really seen him with beard.
When I think of Aquaman, I think of without a beard and long hair. Mm-hmm. But then, the time that he did just have, a ton of hair, in his beard, on his head and everything, he was a beast.
Mm-hmm. And the way I like to think of Superman is either red hair or long flowing black hair with a black costume. No, guys, I'm just absorbing the sunlight with this mullet.
Oh, the 90s were so bad.
I'm back from the dead, guys, and my hair is glorious. Maybe it's him. Maybe it's Maybelline. Maybe it's Superman.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Another tangent from Age of Ultron.
It's so easy to go on tangents.
All right, so how about the Fantastic Four movie?
Oh, Ant-Man doesn't do anything, I guess.
Nah, it's Scott Lang. He's got comics about him. They keep getting canceled. No one really likes it. He might have been in the Fantastic Four for a while, or that might have been a different Ant-Man. They introduced 2 in 2 years. And so, yeah, just don't know anything about it. Might be good. It's Marvel. It'll probably be decent enough.
Do we think it's going to be a separate story that will tie in at the end, or will it start off with a tie-in to Avengers 2 and move on?
I feel like he has to have some link to Ultron, but it's not the same guy. Hank Pym is going to be an older, role model that Scott Lang steals the costume from.
I feel like this movie is going to be better than Iron Man 2, at least.
I think everything's going to be better than Iron Man 2, except Iron Man 3. They're like, look, guys, extremists. And it's like, no, that's not extremists.
You see, when I saw the trailer for Iron Man 3, I'm like, yes, it's going to be dark and gritty and stuff, and then it wasn't.
Well, one of the things was that really ruined it for me is I kind of learned that I enjoy movies a lot more if me and Presley go to the midnight showing, sit away from other people, and then just whisper to each other through the entire movie. We went to Iron Man 3 in the middle of the day with all of our high school classmates and sat on opposite ends. So I'm like trying to whisper to the guy beside me. He's like, shut up, shut up. I'm like, no, but look, this is wrong. That guy's exploding. And he's like, shut up, Alex. And I'm like, she's going to die at the end. Shut up, Alex.
And then we go see something like Amazing Spider-Man 2, and it's us talking through the entire movie about everything that's happening.
We almost got in a fight with a couple hipsters at the end of it.
We did.
We were walking out and they were like, Spider-Man's like the lamest here. And I'm like, I was taking kickboxing classes at the time. I'd actually gotten out of class. So I was like,
we pulled a Timon and Pumbaa. And I was like, hold me back, hold me back.
Hold me back. No, I think the one thing, I was going to be like, hey, shut up. Except they had one guy standing kind of behind Presley. And I didn't know how that would go. I was like, if there were the four in front of me, I feel like we'd be fine because they were skinny hipsters. But
then there was that guy behind us.
Was one of the hipsters Josh?
No. We probably shouldn't be offending. He might be our only fan.
No, we have more. We have a couple. We have a couple, I think.
Okay,
hopefully.
okay.
Josh, we love you. No offense.
Oh.
No offense, we
I
love
didn't mean
you.
like that, but whoops.
I hope you don't take offense to my
I'm the
love.
same way with Aquaman, though. When people say like, "Oh man, he's so stupid," like I will defend him till the day I die.
Aquaman will give you a brain seizure. Not just an ordinary seizure.
Exactly.
A brain seizure.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so going back to the Fantastic Four, I personally did not like either of the Fantastic Fours we got.
I saw them both as a child, and my older brother was I wasn't in the comics yet. So my older brother was like pointing things out to me, and I'm like, Stan Lee is trying to get in their wedding. That's hilarious. Dr. Doom's a statue. That's hilarious. So I think I did enjoy the first one more than the second one. And then my brother was like, Galactus should have been in it. So I was like, I hate it too. So yeah, it's definitely not one of the ones you can.
Later.
It's not one of the ones you can rewatch.
I remember I saw the original when I was young. I don't think I've ever seen the sequel.
Oh.
Good, don't do it.
Yeah, we just see a lot of cliches in the movie, and I personally didn't like much of the acting. It's weird because,
Galactus was a dark cloud. You can kind of make out his helmet for like half a second. And does the Silver Surfer die? I don't even care.
That's how little I was paying attention when I watched these movies because they were so boring, to be honest.
Well, that was another one of the ones that I saw in theater, and I think I fell asleep as a 12-year-old in the theater. And then we watched it again with like the family on a Sunday afternoon. And my brother was just like so mad at it. He's never like talking in movies. He's much more respectful of the people around him, unlike myself. So I never get his opinions until we're walking out. But yeah, Johnny Storm's black in this one.
At least he's not Captain America.
I know, right? My favorite moment ever was in the How It Should Have Ended Captain America trailer when he just came out like on fire. They're like,
no, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
I always did want them to make like a third Fantastic Four or something, just so we could like have Captain America and Johnny Storm in the same room and totally not say a word about it, and just like film him at two different times.
Fill him with different hair.
Yeah,
it's like, all right, you're gonna grow out your hair for 2 months, and then we're gonna do the Fantastic Four, and then we're gonna cut it all up, and we're gonna do Captain America immediately.
Why are we doing this? Because
we paid for the rights.
We're gonna have you in the movie as yourself, but also yourself.
I wonder if they made him black just to avoid the whole Captain America thing.
What's interesting is, has he ever been black in the comics?
No, he's been dead a few times. He currently doesn't have his powers, but he might have them back based on the cover of the last issue that I haven't read yet. When we thought he died, he actually did die, and they like put him back together using Negative Zone powers. And that's about all I know on Fantastic Four. I don't follow them too close.
I've never been a huge fan of the Fantastic Four, really.
They seem like a very classic team. I know Stan Lee loves them to
They were
death.
like the original team, weren't they?
Yeah, they were created to combat the Justice League. Like that was their assignment, was to put together a team to combat the Justice League, and that's why they used the Human Torch, and that's why they fought Namor. It's because those were already characters that they had.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be good if they can do well with this. I believe in, New Fox to do well with it.
Gave us Days of Future Past.
Sure.
Exactly. They've given us First Class, Days of Future Past. I hope they'll do well with Apocalypse.
Yes.
Was First Class good?
First Class, it's one of my top 5 movies.
All right, that was one of the ones I saw at my brother's house, and I was homework maybe. I don't know, maybe. I just feel like there was a large gap that I completely missed.
It got me into X-Men, so.
Yeah, the same. I hadn't really paid attention to X-Men before First Class, and I really like the recasting, and you'll hear of all the reasons I like it in the last episode, but I think Fox has kind of gotten back to what they need to do. The second Wolverine was better than the first one, which it's not saying much, but I mean, usually you do have sequels that are worse, and so I think it's good. It's a good show that they.
I mean, the first one had Deadpool. Segway, Deadpool.
Okay, Deadpool.
This is just, I hope, going to be such a fun movie.
You guys saw the animated short, right?
The test footage?
Just sitting in the car. Yeah, the test footage. I hope he looks like that in the movie, but maybe a little bit better.
I mean, that's test footage, so I think that's what it's going to be.
I mean, from the past, we've seen that they can do kind of like battle armor looking stuff really well, but the first costume that I've seen that's looked really good was Spider-Man in Amazing Spider-Man 2. So
is Ryan Reynolds cast as Deadpool? I've heard, that's all I've heard is Ryan Reynolds.
I feel like I heard that maybe he turned it down at some point. We should have looked that up before we started.
I don't think there's been any hard evidence about it, though.
I think at some point he released a statement that said he would like to be Deadpool, but then I feel like the most recent thing I heard was he did not want to be Deadpool. But it's not like we're going to see his face if they do him right.
But they need to have someone who could be... See, I personally liked him in Origins before he became quote-unquote Deadpool.
I feel like we will have a section of that in the movie, but I'm really hoping we see Cancer-Face Deadpool.
Yeah.
How would...
with the open scabs and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what I'm really hoping for is he's got the costume on, like, through the majority of the movie, and then in the end, whichever supervillain or anti-hero, rival mercenary, they'll get caught in, like, some sort of explosion, and it'll burn off half of his costume, and the guy will be like, oh my gosh, what did that fire do to you? And he'll be like, no, that was already there.
What did it do to me? And he looks in the mirror, he's like, oh, wait, never mind, that's not too bad.
No, that's fine. That's what it always looks like.
My wish list for this movie is breaking the fourth wall, is tons of just like great dark humor, just a great actor / voice, and so that's really all we need is the voice until that one scene that Alex was talking about, maybe getting, and then just a Deadpool that doesn't really have to deal with a villain that's like better than him. He just has to deal with hordes of villains.
Yeah,
like that's when I think Deadpool is at his best, is when he's just kind of chasing around a villain. Like, it's not that he's more powerful, it's just that he can't quite like get to him to defeat him because they're just like hordes of enemies, or he's like just chasing from around like a nation or globe.
Yeah,
that's what I would love from a movie.
Do you think they'll put Wolverine in Deadpool?
At least
it would be great if he had a cameo.
Just Hugh Jackman, same cameo as in Days of Future Past. He'll like go. It just shows the scene from First Class where Charles Xavier walks up to Wolverine in the bar, and Wolverine will say his line, which I don't feel appropriate saying because my family might listen to this, and it'll just show like the next second after it cuts away, and it'll just be Deadpool like flying across past the window. Ah!
Just have him in every single like
I-
past X-Men movie and stuff, and just like put him in there.
He'll just be there because he's not an actual mutant.
What if we had an intro to Deadpool of them taking all the Fox footage that they have and just putting him like in the background?
That's what I'm
of all of it,
saying.
breaking the fourth wall. It's like, I've been here throughout all of these movies that you've seen. And
He'll be like, I'll remember it fondly and just show
It
footage
never
of
happened.
stuff, and he'll.
that
Yeah.
never actually happened.
You know what would be really funny is instead of test like the footage from movies, if we got like poorly drawn animation like cartoons.
See, that's what I'm talking about kind of when I say breaking the fourth wall.
Uh-huh.
If anyone's played the Deadpool game, this is what I'm basing a lot of my wish list off of. If we could make that a movie, that's what I'd love.
I don't know. I would not take on the challenge of writing a Deadpool movie, and I'm a really big
Oh, no.
Deadpool fan. I read a lot of the stuff. I just do not think I could come up with anything that would look good going between CGI to whatever else is in my head
Mhm.
that Deadpool's supposed to be. Like, it is really hard to go between like funny Deadpool to like serious dark Deadpool.
Like Deadpool
It's
in
a
the
challenge, but-
his current run, which actually has been really good.
It was really good up until the point that he's like married to Shikla and they're doing the crossovers
Yeah, I
with the
stopped reading
digital
there.
comics. Yeah, the Dracula stuff's not as good, but
Like that part with the whole Dead Presidents thing I thought was fantastic.
oh my gosh, the Dead Presidents and then the
Yes.
arc immediately following it. No, the best part was when he was looking for Ellie or whatever, and he was in the Korean
Yeah.
death camp or whatever. That was really good.
That was
It was just so dark. Like, you saw who Deadpool really
Yeah.
is underneath the mask.
it
Underneath
gave
the
him a lot
cancer.
more depth than I thought he originally had, which I was like, yes, I need more of this.
In the Deadpool run immediately prior to that, Deadpool lost his healing factor, but he also got rid of the cancer. So he had a face, and I feel like they kept making comments about him looking exactly like Ryan Reynolds. Like, he was just a really handsome brown-haired guy with nice hair, so just like Ryan Reynolds in my head. And he was like running around. Mercenaries were trying to kill him because now he's killable, and he ended up like burning off half of his face immediately. He stuck a gasoline pump between his legs and made it look like he was pooping gasoline, and then he lit it on fire.
Oh my gosh. You see that, like, just like taking all of this and putting it into a Deadpool movie,
Uh-huh.
or multiple Deadpool movies, like, they can do well with this, for sure.
Alex, did you read the part where he blew up the flying helicarrier
Yes,
object?
yes, I did.
They were like, "How did you know to do that?" He was like, "I just used the plan I was going to use if S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't pay me." Note to self, don't piss off Deadpool.
Great. Oh my gosh, I love when
Oh, man.
he has the what's her name, like the agent from Shield or whatever, and yeah,
Preston.
and she's inside of his head.
Yeah, that's what made the second arc so great. She was like, "Are you really thinking that right now?" There was one point where she like dragged him to a movie. She was like, "I have to see this movie when I call my kids later." And so Deadpool's like, "Oh, this is disgusting," and he shoots himself in the head so he doesn't have to watch it.
And then when he ties up her family,
has to happen.
and it's like, "Honey, I'm home." Basically.
Yeah, there were times when it was like Preston talking out of Deadpool's body, and then he would cut in and make comments, and they would be like, "Go away." He's like, "This is my body."
It's so fun. Preston, go
Oh.
read that.
I also want to see, anti-hero
Yes.
Deadpool. Like, it's not exactly him always being a hero. Like, he just sometimes does good. Like, he's more villain than hero, really, if you really think about it.
He was like originally villain, then he got such a huge fan base. They're like, "Let's make him do good stuff," and now he's like,
Now he's more of a hero than a villain.
but he still kills people brutally,
Exactly.
like wrapping their necks in chains and dragging them behind cars. Actually happened.
With him,
Oh.
it's the same thing that I want to see them do with Harley Quinn, which is like she's like in her current run, she's been more of an anti-hero.
By the end, everyone's gonna be an anti-hero. Now Iron Man's more of an anti-hero. Maybe he's about to fight Daredevil
Ooh,
in a crossover. Yeah,
Wow.
something happened in the current comic run. I have it down on our thing to talk about later, so we'll get
Okay.
to it.
But yeah, I think another big thing that Iron Man's been doing is fighting people, and he might fight Captain America in Civil War, Captain America 3.
I think he has to fight Captain America in Civil War.
Yeah, I mean, we've been shown in like a picture, I think, that it's actually titled Captain America 3: Civil War.
Yeah, it is.
Have you all seen the clip of Cap and Iron Man talking when they're chopping wood? Oh my gosh.
No.
It's so great. Yes.
They're chopping wood. They're like, here we are,
and
2 men in the
arguing about
forest.
something, and then at the end, Steve just rips a log in half. It was so awesome.
Gosh.
Okay,
Tony's
so
like,
in comic books, in the comic books, they were arguing over secret identities, but there are no secret identities in the cinematic universe. Like, there's Spider-Man if he makes a cameo.
I think Civil War will be over the twins.
Over the twins?
I think at the end, the twins will have done something crazy, and one of them probably, I think Captain America will take the twin side, and Iron Man will want to like cast them out, and Civil War will kind of be over like, you know, what do we do with maybe like the twins, or like maybe there's some other superheroes in the world.
Dad.
Magneto. No, I just hope when back to Age of Ultron, I hope when they introduce the twins, they're like, because they're getting their powers from the experiments using the Tesseract or the Cosmic Cube, whatever they're calling it. That was what we saw, is them as given powers like that. But I just wanted them to be like, wow, they're like some form of new strange mutations. What would you call those? And then it gets cut away because they can't say mutants.
Didn't they call them like miracles or something in Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
The Miracle Children.
Not mutants, they're miracles.
Fox and Disney need to work something out. This is getting ridiculous.
They all need to just hold hands and sing Kumbaya.
We couldn't get an Oscorp building in the Avengers because Sony just will not work with Disney.
Yeah. It's kind of like that would have been one of those awesome crossovers that all the nerds in the theater were like, ah! And normal people are like,
We
what?
couldn't even do that.
Like when Superman hit the Wayne Industries satellite.
Well, that's all Warner Bros.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, I get
That's the kind of cameo I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Just, they need to give each other like those little, like maybe a newspaper in Spider-Man, like cleaning up the Avengers mess. It's like New York's still ravaged, except not really.
This is one thing. What do you think will win out in the box office in 2016? Civil War or Batman vs Superman?
Ooh.
Because Civil War is going to kind of be like, oh, is this supposed to be big? I thought that was Avengers 2 last year.
Up to
but Batman vs Superman, we're building up to Batman vs Superman from Man of Steel. I mean, this is supposed to be like moving into. This is supposed to be the Captain America before the Justice League. You know what I'm saying?
If I had to guess, I think Civil War will do better just because Marvel's prepared their universe much more. Like, just the Marvel hype, plus I think Disney is good enough at franchising. Like, they'll just stick Olaf in a commercial and be like, hey guys, go see Civil War! And everyone will be like, must see Civil War. Brainwashed by talking snowmen.
Oh, no.
And third, I think you're going to see, like, Marvel fans and DC fans, like anyone who hasn't been watching them in theaters, which I feel like most of them are, I feel like everyone's going to go out for this. Because I would say that the Civil War crossover is the greatest thing Marvel's ever done in comic books, like the greatest crossover. And I'm not sure, but it might be better than DC. It's just uncomplicated. It's uncomplicated awesomeness. There's no space universe stuff. It's just superheroes fighting over something. It kind of brings up the question over, is being a superhero, like, what does it mean to be a superhero? Is it about giving the people what they want, or like representing your own beliefs? And those are the two sides that are taken.
I think that a lot of people who aren't as knowledgeable about everything that's going on are going to honestly be like, oh, awesome, the next Batman film.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
kind of,
you ask anyone who their favorite superhero is, and it's Batman. And so you're like, you're going to get to see Batman punch Superman in the face and somehow win. Everyone's going to be like, what? That sounds amazing.
One of the biggest questions that you ever are faced with is like, oh, who would win? Batman versus Superman. You don't hear that as much about Captain America and Iron Man. I mean, even though that is like Civil War was a huge comic. I mean, it was
Captain America.
big,
Captain
America.
America won. And then that's how Civil War ended.
But-
Was Captain America won the fight. He was about to like bash Tony's skull in with the shield, and then he got hit in the head with like a can, and there was like a mob like, "You're not giving us what we want," and he's like, "Well, I guess I am like for the people," and so he surrenders, and then he's like going into a trial building, and his brainwashed girlfriend walks up and shoots him in the chest, and he dies. And then the last panel, you just see like it's a table that you know Captain America's body is on. I think the shield's on it or something. And there's like a body under the blanket. And then in the corner, you just see Tony Stark with his head in his hands, but like hunched over. Like, this wasn't worth it. And so you're kind of just left with, it feels like how the Civil War, how history books describe it. Like the American Civil War.
Yeah. I hope that's not exactly how Civil War the movie will end, but the consequences wise.
Mm-hmm. Well, that'll also give us a tie-in to the Winter Soldier taking the helmet or the shield for a while.
That'll
True.
If they give it to Sam Wilson, like in the comics right now, like the Falcon, Captain America, I will not be okay with it.
Maybe Thor 3, Thor can go retrieve Captain America
Ooh.
Yeah,
in the depths.
that was actually what me and Presley said. Thor 3 or Thor 2 should have been Thor: The Dark World.
Is going after Tony Stark.
Yeah, we decided that at the end of the Avengers, Tony Stark should have
Yeah.
just died. Like, that should have been the thing, and you could have seen like Hel taking him away, Hel, Loki's daughter. And then Iron Man 3 should have never happened, as it is rightly so. And then Thor 2 could have been like, you could have had Nick Fury giving Thor like a briefing, like, go get his soul back. Thor's like, aye. And then you just see him fighting through hell for the entire movie. Like, think about how much better that would have been than like the Dark Elves and the
Another
crossover
useless
and
villain.
Meow Meow. Yeah. Well, Malekith is a really cool villain, like in the
They didn't do
comics.
them all.
They did not do
Didn't
Malekith
talk at
well.
all.
I didn't.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Malekith is supposed to be like almost a Joker equivalent.
Well, that's not what I got out of that movie,
Like-
though.
Nope.
He's just like, I'm a dark, scary person, and I talk in Elven, but it's not Lord of the Rings Elven, it's New Elven.
I got more of a Thanos out of him.
Yeah. He's supposed to be like witty. He actually had a crossover with Iron Man lately, where he got some sort of Mandarin ring and was like killing other people with Mandarin rings.
I read that.
Getting
I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
It was really good.
I picked that one up because it was number 1 for Marvel Now. So I was like,
Yeah, it was really good. It was a really good crossover. I just love the point where Malekith's like, nothing can ever stop me, and you just see like Thor in his traditional costume along with all these other like Norse mythology Marvel characters come in, and he's like, Thor, there's no way you could be here, and he just goes, nah, and then the hologram breaks and it's like Iron Man attacking.
that was great.
It's like not even in the Asgardian text, it's just
Nah.
NaH, nah.
Oh my gosh. So moving back to Fox though, I think Apocalypse is going to be one of my favorite movies of what year is it set for?
I think
2017?
it's 2016 too.
I thought you were
2016?
talking about the actual movie. I'm like, dude, it's 1980.
That movie, that year is going to be incredible. We're going to get Civil War, Batman versus Superman,
No,
Wonder Woman, correct?
Wonder Woman comes out the
No,
next
not
year.
Wonder Woman. The next year. But we'll still get Apocalypse.
Will we both be in college that year?
Yes, I'll be a junior.
Okay, cool. So I'll be at Georgia Tech by then, and we will be much closer together.
Great.
Yay.
Friendship. We're all friends.
My little pony. I'm sorry.
Oh no. Oh no.
You'll cut. Alex gets to cut that. But Apocalypse is, I know that character mostly from the TV shows of X-Men.
Mhm.
I just think from the TV shows that he is one of the most powerful villains I've seen. I know when I think of comic book villains, we have Darkseid, we have Thanos, but one of the most powerful ones I can really think of is Apocalypse.
Do you think we're going to get a Cable crossover
That'd be cool.
tie-in? Like Cable
I
and
like
X-Men?
Cable.
Because Apocalypse is kind of a self-creating character. Because Apocalypse gave Cable the organic cyber virus or whatever it's called. And then Cable goes into the past, like to Apocalypse's past when he was a pharaoh or whatever, and tries to kill him and gives him the organic cyber virus. And so, like, they just keep infecting each other, and that's kind of how the loop goes. But that's why Apocalypse has, like, reality-bending powers, like he can grow to any size or whatever. But then he gets his hands on celestial technology, which the organic technovirus, that's what it's called, the organic technovirus allows him to bond with. And so that's why he's got the powers of a god. The celestial tech.
I think that's basically what's got to be, like, transmitted to the fans and the viewers in theaters is, like, this guy is so powerful, even if every X-Men, evil and good, were to band together, they would just be so small.
Until Wolverine stabs him in
you.
the chest.
Yeah. That's one cool thing about Apocalypse, too. It's not like, oh, I'm just undefeatable, indestructible, no matter what you hit me with, I'm not going to die. It's more like he's so powerful. He just has so many, like, unbelievable powers. That
I think we need Cable in this because we need more X-Men with guns. Because we got Bishop and X-Men Days of Future Past, and I thought that was really cool, so we need Cable now, too.
Maybe Kitty Pryde can phase him in the past with their phasing powers.
Because that's how that works.
Because time machines are too hard. They're like, no, we need some way to put Hugh Jackman in the past, but also in the future.
But also use Kitty Pryde.
Sure, Kitty.
Why do you look the exact same now as in 40 years, but younger than 20 years after this?
Because comic movies.
Because I'm an actor. What else are you guys kind of hoping for in this movie?
More period piece things, because I liked the First Class in the 60s and then Days of Future Past in the 70s. Yeah, I've liked this so far.
I hope they do the Horsemen well. Like, I really do. That's one of the biggest things. Recently Fox released a statement. They were like building up to something big, and they're like, there's going to be the 4 Horsemen. And we're like, yeah, what about them? Have you cast them? And they're like, no, there's just going to be them. And like, you showed us in the post credits. They're like, oh, did we? Oh, I'll see you guys later.
I actually didn't notice the 4
statement
Horsemen in the
It's
post credit scene until like the third time I saw the
They
movie.
were there. I still need to see it for the first time because Presley took me on my birthday after a very long day. And I remember them getting on a plane, and then I remember Magneto lifting a stadium out of the ground.
You kind of felt some part of it.
I was trying to get Presley to recap, and he's like, I don't know what happened.
He didn't want to explain it to me.
It was so confusing. The first time it was so confusing to me.
And I haven't rewatched it since.
What's going on? We went to a late showing, and they were very comfy recliner chairs.
Yeah, and we had nachos.
That's
And we had
a killer
nachos.
combo right there.
Oh man.
That's how we're going to see all of our movies from now on.
Yes.
Fall asleep.
Oh
at the midnight
man.
premieres.
Yeah, Avengers. Here we go.
It's like, that was the best nap I've ever gotten. Nachos in
listen.
a recliner listening to explosions. Best
That's going to be the
ever.
title of this podcast,
Oh,
of
man.
this episode. Best nap ever.
Best nap. Oh man. But yeah, it's just going to be hopefully like rebooting the X-Men franchise to build up to this huge villain. We get back Jean Grey. It's in the 80s. It's everything that I would want in an X-Men film.
But seriously, what if they do pull the X-Men 3 Last Stand, where you've got this immense, powerful figure like Jean Grey can just kill everything until Wolverine walks up and stabs her in the chest?
I don't
love
think-
you.
They're like, we made that mistake. That's the exact line he's going to say to Apocalypse. I love you.
Apocalypse is gonna be like, what?
They're going to paste over that scene from X3. Or they're just going to CGI the exact footage.
No, my favorite part is now that we've seen Wolverine in the future, this movie has no consequence. It's like, it's all going to work
Unless
out
it
unless it
doesn't.
doesn't.
We've already seen that the future is nothing because we can just make another movie to combat it.
They're like, and in the next movie, Scott's gonna have a different visor.
He's gonna have a different pair of
again.
Oakleys.
Again. Oh man.
We went Ray-Bans for this movie. I see what you did there.
We're trying to get every sunglass.
Oh, God. Official sunglasses of the X-Men.
But moving on to another studio that makes Marvel films, Sony is building up to their Sinister Six movie.
Which they're not even really building up to. They did the first two movies, and then they gave us that teaser of the costumes at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2. If you Shazammed the...
Shazam!
Was it Shazam? Is that... Yeah, exactly. If you Captain Marveled that in-credit song in Amazing Spider-Man 2, you got texted pictures of the Sinister Six, and you kind of guessed from there. But that's all the build-up we're going to get. And from what I've heard, is Spider-Man's going to be like a secondary character in this.
Which I can like that. If we kind of see what Spider-Man's done in between Spider-Man 2 and 3 by seeing him in the background of Sinister Six, getting real in-depth character knowledge of these characters before Spider-Man 3. So these villains are more than just 6 random villains that you've seen some of and you haven't seen others, and so you actually care about the movie when it gets to Spider-Man 3.
I just need Sony to make a good movie that has Spider-Man on the front of it that people besides myself like. Because I am sick of walking out of Spider-Man 2 it was so perfect. Did you see all the comic book tie-ins? And they're like, yeah, but what was with the guys in the truck? And I'm like, what guys in the truck? They're like, you weren't paying attention because you were too busy thinking about how awesome Spider-Man was. I was doing that. I was always doing that. So I'm really just hoping Sinister Six is a good, rounded movie all with Spider-Man in it, so I can enjoy it, but I don't have to hear other people complaining about it for the next 6 months.
I just want to see Doc Ock again.
So yeah, long tangent from Alex.
Yeah, I want to see a as good or better Doc Ock.
I really like Doc Ock.
I think Green Goblin could be a great psychotic character. Doc Ock can kind of be our, oh, look, here's a bad guy that has a good reason to be a bad guy, but not in the way that Sandman was.
I'm still hoping Norman Osborn comes back as a zombie giant ogre Green Goblin from Ultimate Spider-Man comics.
Oh my gosh.
He's not actually dead. Because they really downplayed his death. And the Impress, they were like, it's coming, he's going to be a giant monster. And then the next scene was Norman Osborn died today. They're guess not.
Guess it's back to Harry.
Guess it's back to Harry. They're we've done this before. Let's just skip to Harry. You've done that before too.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
We didn't forget.
This time, he's not gonna have half his face blown off though. He's just gonna have venom inserted into his body. But not the venom you know about, a different venom.
Because comic book movies.
Oh.
Comic book movies.
Speaking of Venom, we're supposed to get a standalone Venom film too.
With Carnage as the villain.
Carnage is the villain, which is blowing my mind right now.
I didn't even know about this.
So, who's wearing the symbiote? Eddie Brock or Flash Thompson?
Oh,
they
that's
ruined
tough
Eddie Brock.
Because they ruined Eddie, but Eddie is to me the original Venom, in my opinion. I know Flash is the original, but in my from my childhood,
Eddie's the original.
Eddie's the original?
Yeah, Flash is current.
Oh, right. Okay. So yeah, Eddie is in my eyes, the original Venom, but he was kind of ruined by Spider-Man 3. And I really liked him in the TV series and the comics that I used to read. It was just kind of Eddie was a solid Venom.
But what we're seeing from these companies is they don't care, because Hank Pym's not going to be Ant-Man Scott Lang is. So maybe there's some reference in the beginning to Eddie Brock being Venom at some point, but then we're just going to see. Because what we're seeing is anti-heroes are selling. And as long as anti-heroes are going to sell, then we're going to see Flash Thompson wearing the suit.
Thompson also. I like Flash Thompson too, as Venom.
I hope they have Carnage from the Spider-Man TV series.
Have either
the animated series. That Australian, wasn't he Australian?
Nope, he's redneck.
But in the TV series, he was a bomber.
Oh.
The Australian bombers.
Was he an Australian bomber? He's supposed to be a redneck.
Okay.
Like
but if they just
Clueless.
have like an insane guy that gets this like newfound power. Actually, that would be cool. A redneck that finally gets like this power. And he's just like insane, and he goes crazy, just wanting to destroy stuff.
I mean, that really is what Carnage is. He's not a villain with a plan or anything. Like, he's more so than Joker is he just loves to kill people.
Yeah, and that's what I want to see. And then I want to see this anti-hero kind of be like, well, if you destroy everything, I can't do my thing, so I may as well fight you.
Yeah.
That would be what I want in a Venom film.
So I'm going to shoot you in the face or use tentacle claws, depending on how I'm written.
Have either of you played the Spider-Man game that came out in like 2000 for like PlayStation and Nintendo 64? The one that came out in like 2000.
Wait, which game? Like the Spider-Man Doc Ock Carnage thing? Oh my gosh, that game was so much fun.
The one where like they can't move their fingers, so they're just like have fists the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you could do like the Spider-Man had impact webbing, so if you got bored, you could just turn on the black suit Spider-Man cheat code and just impact webbing everything.
I want Venom to be like that, where he's just like, oh, I'm going to kill your wife because of this misunderstanding. Oh, wait, it's just a misunderstanding. My bad. No, he says our bad. Sorry. Our bad.
Our bad.
Our bad? I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. And then as soon as you beat Carnage in that game, then Carnage gives up being with Cletus and he goes on to Dr. Octopus, and then you're just escaping the building before it explodes. And if he touches you, you die. The final mission is seriously just to run away from the villain. It's like, faster, 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 faster.
Then Captain America saves you and you go play cards. That's literally how it ends.
Is that? I don't remember the ending because I always made Austin beat the end for me. I did not have hand-eye coordination until, like, I still don't.
They started playing Go Fish, and then they cut to, like, a scene in the prison where, like, all the Spider-Man villains were, and they were also playing Go Fish.
Spider-Man's like, it was a good day. I finally caught all these villains until the next prison outbreak.
It was pretty great.
Yeah, then that kind of moves into Spider-Man 3. What are we really going to see in this? I mean, obviously we're going to kind of have Mary Jane.
Finally.
Yeah.
Finally.
What's funny is she was cast. She was supposed to be in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Right.
She was she was cut from Amazing Spider-Man 2 and then uncast. So we've really got a lot of potential. I think we'll see a little bit of like still missing Gwen. They resolved some of it at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2, like you got to be greater than what you face. But
a lot of people were like, "Oh, great, he got over Gwen," but they're going to still try to pull something in Amazing Spider-Man 3. In my opinion, he didn't get over Gwen at the end of Spider-Man 2. The whole point of them moving on or going farther with the movie after he kind of mourned her for a while is that he didn't get over Gwen, but he just had to kind of put that on the back burner and keeping Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And so I think in Spider-Man 3, we're definitely going to see him having to deal with it, and that'll get worse when we see Mary Jane come into the picture.
In one of the most hated Spider-Man comics ever, it was where we found out that Gwen had kids and they were Norman Osborn's kids or whatever. But the best part about that entire comic book crossover, like it made you hate everything about the writers. Like, it was almost as bad as One Last Day or One More Day or whatever.
What was the plot of One More Day again?
One More Day was Aunt May was shot at the end of Civil War. She was dying, and so they were doing everything they could to fix her, like giving her spider blood donations. But it was also in Civil War, where Spider-Man was on the run and everyone knew he was Peter Parker. And so basically he was like, I can't let Aunt May die. And that's when Mephisto, the Marvel equivalent of Satan, was like, well, if you trade me your marriage, then I'll heal Aunt May and make everyone forget you're Spider-Man. He's like, well,
what?
Okay. There was one point where he was like, why do you want my marriage? And Mephisto was literally like, because your marriage was pure, and it was consummated eyes of the one I hate the most, as in like you didn't have sex with each other until you got married, and I want your marriage.
Weird.
And so then in the next arc, you find out that they almost got married, they didn't get married, but they kept dating and sleeping together and whatever. And so that was like, it was like, come on, you're destroying Spider-Man's character to that point. It upset a lot of fans.
Huh.
But back to what I was saying before, Mary Jane and Peter's relationship, you have this moment where Peter Parker is dealing with all this crap with Gwen having kids that he thought was his but aren't his, and he's just trying to like sleep, and he has this thought like, this is what I love about Mary Jane, is because she'll always understand my relationship with Gwen and always love me the same for it. And so I think that's what we'll see, is not him necessarily getting over Gwen, but him learning to love Mary Jane and her loving him in spite of also loving Gwen. If they do it right, they could also just crap the whole movie. Yeah. We could get a Fantastic Four 2 or an Iron Man 3. What I want to see with it
is the quote, "Face it, Tiger, you've hit the jackpot."
So yeah.
I want to hear her say that.
So how about Guardians of the Galaxy 2? What do you guys expect from that? Is Alex there?
Yes.
I've been talking for like 5 straight minutes.
Yeah.
Presley, did you hear my comment?
We'll cut that.
About Face it, Tiger, you hit the...
I heard your comment.
Oh, I've lost his audio completely.
I made a Spider-Man comic reference.
It switched to the other ear.
I did? Are you good?
Hello?
Hang on, it might have switched back.
Hello?
Can you hear him?
Okay, good. We're going to have to, like, edit out some of that.
Well, just, like, edit out that entire thing, and Alex say
I said that I wanted Mary Jane to say, "Face it, Tiger, you've hit the jackpot," when she shows up.
Oh, that's a given. She has to say that.
That is one scene I remember the most from the animated series.
"Face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot."
And it's basically just like, doesn't she say it again in Spectacular Spider-Man?
She says it in every appearance of Mary Jane ever.
Oh my god!
Because that's the first thing in the original comics. Aunt May's like gives months of build up. Like, I want you to meet this nice girl, Mary Jane. And in the real world, it was like several years. But she was like, she has such a nice personality. And Peter's like, that means she's ugly. And so finally, Mary Jane's like at the house. Or maybe he was like set up on a blind date, and he answers the door, and she goes, "Face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot."
Yeah, that has to. I mean, if they don't introduce her like that, then I know this movie's gonna suck, and I'll just walk out of the theater then.
Well, we've already paid for the tickets, and we'll have nachos.
You can just take another nap.
Oh, man.
The best nap ever.
Even better nap. Yeah, it's hard to beat that Days of Future Past nap. But yeah, I mean, finally getting back to like the Disney Marvel Studios, I think is the movie that I'm going to be waiting for maybe the most. Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
I don't know if I'm waiting for it the most though, even though I love the first one so much.
Okay, maybe not waiting for it the most, but like I'm going to be happy when the second one comes out.
Yeah. Have you guys heard about what they're doing with Peter Quill's dad? All they've released is he won't be the same person as in the comics.
He won't.
That'd be really cool.
I hope so. Because in the comics, he's just basically a space dick.
Yeah. Which I hate. I mean...
Dictator.
It's going to be really upsetting if we have this huge build-up and then nobody's going to like it if he's just like this really powerful emperor that nobody really likes.
Yeah.
And then Peter's like, huh. And then it serves no purpose. Those comics were never that great, really. With his dad, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, recently he, like, created the fall of the Spartax Empire, and that was pretty funny.
Yeah, if we have Adam Warlock.
Because we also saw the cocoon thing that Adam Warlock was in the first Guardians, so.
We actually saw the... Yeah, at the end of Guardians, it was busted open in the background.
Oh.
It was behind Howard the Duck.
Huh. I was too busy looking at Howard the Duck the first time.
I think that was the point. They're like, look at all these plot devices and look at this talking duck. And Cosmo. Cosmo's there too. And he didn't talk, which was disappointing.
You guys have heard that the Stan Lee cameo they were going to do at first was Stan Lee stuck in a little glass container just flipping them off. And Stan Lee was all for it, but then come on,
James Gunn.
Director? James Gunn, thanks. James Gunn wouldn't go for it.
He's like, we're not gonna let him flip off people in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I would have.
I still liked his cameo, but
we'll say bitch, we won't do the finger. Except they did. Did they do the finger? Or was that?
Yeah, no. Cool did.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Why?
So, why didn't they?
Maybe there are maybe too many people getting flipped off in this movie.
No, I think it was they didn't. Stan Lee's always been that lighthearted, family cameo.
Except when he was, the Playboy guy. What's his name? Yeah, except when he was Hugh Hefner. Yeah. In Iron Man 1,
I think.
1.
Or was it? Or
2.
was it 1?
Shut up.
No, it was 1. It was 1. It was.
Who cares?
You're right.
Okay.
He
might have been the same character because I feel like in the second movie he was at a party and he just walks by and he goes, "Hey Hef," and it turns around and it's Stan Lee.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it was both. We're both right, or both.
I don't remember.
He's kind of a pervert player in Guardians.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anything else you guys want to see from Guardians 2 or don't want to see?
Nova.
Yeah.
Richard Rider Nova. I want to see it.
That'd be pretty cool.
Like, with the Nova Force and everything. Because right now we've got that woman who doesn't really mean anything, and they're basically just the space police, and a bunch of their ships get blown up. I want to see superhero Nova in Guardians 2, so he can be in Avengers for 5 minutes.
That'd be pretty cool.
Avengers 3, I mean.
Yeah.
Avengers 3-2.
Avengers 3-2.
I'll say it again, but I want Guardians 2, since it's coming, I think, right before Avengers 3, to be the Avengers find out about Thanos. They try to stop him. They fail. And so Thanos continues on to Earth. I want to see that. Cool. And I want to see it like, oh, okay, we think they're going to defeat him and and it's going to be the same ending as Guardians 1, but then they actually fail.
I just hope Drax rips out his heart.
Do it?
I just hope Drax rips out his heart.
Well, then Guardians could, finally make it to Earth now. That
I also want to see, between now and then, Drax is actually capable of killing Thanos, because he wasn't even able to fight Ronan, so...
Yeah.
He'll get a power-up. I think that's always the point, is he's not good enough for that hand-to-hand until he's wearing his Destroyer uniform, and then he just rips out his heart.
That'd be great.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then sometimes he gets disintegrated. But don't worry, he comes back.
They just throw him in a pot.
No, they were in the Cancerverse where nothing would die.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
That place. DC has that place. It's called the Lazarus Pit.
It's not a universe, though. It's a thing.
Yeah, the Cancerverse
it's like 6 pits around the world.
The Cancerverse was specifically a place where, instead of dying, Captain Marvel sacrificially murdered the Avatar of Death, and so death became non-existent. Nothing could die. But when something got destroyed or something, it turned into a giant tentacle monster. And then Captain Marvel had Satan powers, and they were coming into our universe.
Whoa.
And they had a giant Galactus head that was a zombie.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. Yeah, it was. If you guys haven't read the first run of Guardians of the Galaxy with Peter Quill as the leader, you need to go back and read it. It was 26 issues of amazing.
Huh.
It was the 26 Guardians of the Galaxy, and then it led into the Thanos Imperative, where it kind of twisted in with some of the stuff that was going on in the galaxy at the time, but it doesn't matter.
Huh.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I also think we need to see a tie-in to Captain Marvel in Guardians 2.
We do, and then I guess that's a segue into Captain Marvel. We don't really know when we're going to get Captain Marvel, but
2018.
We do. It's
18.
20. Yeah.
Okay, so in 2018, we know nothing about it really.
We know they've stated that it's Carol Danvers for sure.
Yeah, I kind of figured that.
Yeah.
That's the only one that a lot of people know about.
It's the one they need to show.
Yeah, Marvel died. Marvel died a while ago. There was Phyla-Vell, his daughter. There were the other people that I can't remember the names of because I started reading comics in 2005.
Yeah, but Carol Danvers, I think mainly because she was in the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Uh-huh.
And that's Disney. and so I think Disney's kind of used to Carol.
Yeah, plus she's a female superhero, which is kind
Well, I
of
mean,
weird.
like up until
Get
we're gonna have a reboot with a revamp of female superheroes with Wonder Woman the year before that. So
Yeah, I know. You were
That
so
it was gonna be
excited
before
about that.
Captain
that
Marvel.
I was just hoping that Marvel would do that giant middle finger. It's like, fine, cast your movie on the same day as us, but we're putting Captain Marvel first.
Wonder Woman just needs a movie. She just really needs a good movie.
Because I see Wonder Woman as like one of the first strong female like superheroes, the first strong superhero one. But Captain Marvel was more of a like reincarnation of another superhero.
Yeah.
Just another female superhero.
I'm just excited to see a strong, powerful woman on the silver screen because I'm totally a feminist now. Because I wrote a research paper on feminism a few days ago, and my teacher's a feminist, so I took that side.
Well played.
Because I'm all about that grade.
I think that really though we do need to see the strong women on the big screen because we haven't.
We also need to see a strong African American lead.
You can say Black Presley.
Black Panther.
It's okay. You can say black.
But no, he's actually African.
Oh, true. He's not American. He's just.
I thought that you were
African.
calling.
But he'll come to America.
An African who comes to America.
Becomes African American.
But he's still the king of another country.
Sound familiar?
Yeah. Is it Aquaman?
That's not black. That's Aquaman.
Aquaman's Hawaiian, okay?
Black Mantis. Aquaman's Hawaii, which is America.
Exactly.
Oh man, but I don't know about you guys. I always thought of Black Panther as like a really cool and different superhero.
We totally just transitioned from Captain Marvel to Black Panther just like that.
Alex, at first I thought you were calling Presley like Black Presley, like as in Black Panther, because you're like
not like Black Adam, who's in fact white.
Well, now
at least Black Mantis
this is
black.
true. But also, Black Adam is going to be half black in the movie.
Okay.
And half Hawaiian.
Is Rock half black?
He's like half black, half
Really?
Samoan or Hawaiian or something.
That's
Okay.
why he doesn't look like mulatto.
He looks white. He looks like nicely tanned. Or maybe I'm thinking of Vin Diesel. They're all in my head.
They're all big, huge
From Fast and
actors.
Furious.
Fast and Furious. Oh,
Wait.
man.
I think we're talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger here.
Okay.
No,
He's so white.
but he's muscular.
He's so
Arnold
old.
Schwarzenegger used to be muscular.
Oh man.
What happens when we get to the Expendables 6 and it's just Jackie Chan, The Rock, and Vin
gosh.
Diesel?
In
I'll see that in
Watchers.
theaters.
I won't.
We'll be old
Because
by
it
then.
will probably have the same directing as the Expendables.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, getting back to Black Panther, it's just the fact that like Aquaman, he's this like really just awesome king that can go hand to hand with any of his subjects, really. And so you have this like different like supporting characters that like he have his royal family, and then he is like trying to be taken over, and that's why he needs the Avengers' help. And we can get a really good movie that's not the typical, oh, an American got superpowers in New York, and at the same time there's some supervillain that he has to fight, and in the end he finds out that he can be really good with
I
the
always like
superpowers,
the
you know?
whole, oh, I'm a king, oh, I have powers stuff, like, oh, but I also am like a hero, stuff like that. I always thought that was pretty cool.
And I like the fact that, you know, we'll have like Captain America, oh, my shield is so special, and then he's like, look at my
Vibranium.
mountain of vibranium. It's a literal mountain.
Which, if you make any noise around it, it just blows up. Be careful with vibranium. Don't punch it. It's a bad idea. Bad idea to punch pure vibranium.
I'll keep that in mind.
Bad things happen. If you ever come up against a big pile of vibranium, don't punch it.
Don't punch it. You heard it first.
I'll punch it just to spite you. and I'll break my arm.
And your arm will blow off just to spite you.
Oh man.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't really know much about
It's been
the Black
cast.
Panther movie though.
He's been cast. The guy who plays
Who is
Jackie
it?
Chan,
Who is it?
not Jackie Chan, Jackie Robinson.
Jackie Chan.
Who's that guy that normally plays Jackie Chan in movies?
That would be
They're gonna fit
so
Jack-
horrible. Jackie Chan.
Hello, I am African boy.
The guy that played Jackie Robinson
gosh.
in that movie in 42.
Okay.
Jackie Chan.
I'm like, I know one black actor, and it's Donald Glover.
Oh man.
Which would be amazing. He just takes off his mask and is like, hey, it's Timothy JD.
What about Don Cheadle? Don Cheadle,
What?
War Machine.
Who? Oh, right. I don't know any of their names. I know Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, and Robert Downey Jr.
What about Chris
and
Pratt?
that's it. Oh, and
And
Scarlett
Chris Pratt.
Johansson. Yeah, I know Chris Pratt, but that's because
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel. What?
Vin Diesel is
No, I
Groot,
said yeah,
right?
Vin Diesel. Yeah, he's
Hey, who is Vin Diesel cast to play in a future movie? I forgot.
He's gonna be in the
Oh,
Inhumans,
he's,
right?
That Inhumans. I'm really excited for Inhumans. They've got a new comic book out lately, and it's actually really good so
I
far.
heard he was gonna be like Black Bolt or something.
He'll be the king of the Inhumans. I'm really excited to see how they do Medusa's hair. Like, I feel like it's gonna be hard with CGI, but it'll
Also,
be cool.
Black Bolt
if they do
doesn't
it right.
talk, does he? So we'll have
Nope.
a character that's
So-
just Vin Diesel's voice, and then one that's just his body.
I am Groot. You guys know Vin Diesel did the Groot for every single
Yes,
language that it
yes.
came out in, right?
did.
So he was like, "Me amo Groot," or would
Yes.
it be "Soy Groot"? Soy
Every
Groot.
language.
And the other languages, because I only speak the
I don't know
two.
any other languages besides English and Spanish either.
I know English and very broken Spanish.
I know Atlantean.
And if you speak at me in
I know
Elven, I'm gonna know it's
Klingon.
Elven. I can distinguish through the the Middle Earth stuff.
Yeah, I think that's all we really had to say about the
Hooray.
cinematic universe.
We
Which-
did it.
It's not a little, it's a lot, but
Over an hour. Thanks for everyone who's stuck by so far.
yeah, now we're going to move into some comics that we have been reading that are big right now in Marvel. And I think the biggest of those, at least from my knowledge, personally reading, has been Death of Wolverine.
I think Axis is the biggest just going across universes right now, but Death of Wolverine had way more build up to it.
And it had a lot of publicity.
It did. And the weirdest thing about Death of Wolverine is because it was 4 issues and it was titled Death of Wolverine, but all 4 issues were completely different stories. And when he died, it was just kind of like, well, that
He's gone
happened.
now.
To me, it was a lot of people didn't like it. It was just kind of like, wow, 1, he didn't really have to die. 2, it was a anticlimactic death, and it came all of a sudden and didn't really ever like have an ending after that. It's
I
just
think
like,
the point-
he's dead now.
The point that they were trying to make was in issue 4, he found someone who was trying to make more like his creator, the director of the Weapons X
Yes.
program. And he was making more Wolverines and like torturing and killing people. And so Wolverine like saw these people being like drilled into with adamantium. So he runs over, pops his real claws, even though he lost his healing factor like a year or so ago, and slashes the tank of adamantium and like pours on top of him this boiling adamantium. And so then this guy, the professor of the Weapons X program, is running away, and Wolverine chases him up to a building, stabs him on the chest, and then the adamantium cements. So he's just a Wolverine statue.
That's so cool.
So technically, he suffocated. If you want to be like how Wolverine
Personally,
died,
I
he
think that
suffocated.
like they were like an anticlimactic death was one that they should have gone with, and I'm kind of glad they did go with, because like he's been in all these battles and stuff, but it was really like something kind of
Yeah. it was more like it wasn't a huge explosion. It wasn't him being like torn apart. It was just him fighting for the thing that he most believed in, and he accomplished it. And at the end of him accomplishing that, he was just kind of encased
And he died
in
being a hero.
adamantium, which has a little bit of and that all has a little bit of poetic justice.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing about Death of Wolverine, a lot of times in comics, you'll get a lot of crossover, like building up to one main thing. But with Death of Wolverine, it was more like the 4 issues that kind of told the story of Wolverine, or like gave background on him, and then they killed him off. And so what we're going to see is a lot of backlash on it. Like, we've got one called Captain America and Deadpool, where they were making sure no one could clone Wolverine. So they burned all of his possessions and like cleaned his apartment out with bleach and everything. And then they learned that I think AIM had a knife with his blood on it, and they were going to try and clone him. And so they stole it back. And then Deadpool's like, Captain America gave Deadpool the sample to destroy. And so Deadpool goes to clone him. And that's where we are right now. And then we've got Logan's Legacy, which is Mystique, Sabretooth, X-23, and maybe Daken. It might be Lady Deathstrike. It's either one of those two is the 4, but it's like people that were heavily influential in Logan's life. I feel like there's one more good guy. I can't remember. And so it's kind of telling the story of how Wolverine's death affected each of them. And then we've got, of course, Nightcrawler, just came back from the dead, and he's a really good friend with Wolverine, so we're seeing a lot of him and the religious stuff. And then Storm was dating him, so I don't read the Storm comics, but I assume it's got something to do with that. And then Wolverine and the X-Men is still going on, like the school.
The Jean Grey School.
Dealing with, the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning. I thought it was over. I honestly did. In the issue before the death of Wolverine, Quentin Quire was like, I'm a bad guy now. And Wolverine's like, even after all this time, there's nothing I could do to fix you. And then he left, and then he died. And so, and it's still going on. So it's they're either going to do a really good job or a really bad job with that.
The thing that I personally liked the most about Death of Wolverine was the build up to it around the universe of Marvel. We just have, like Deadpool in the Jean Grey School. Mm-hmm. Isn't that where he was? And he was just, who was he talking to? She was like, sorry about Wolverine. Sorry about Wolverine.
Oh,
she was like,
never mind.
And he's like, oh, spoilers.
Yeah, he goes, spoilers.
And it's just kind of like all these little hints and drops, and everybody knows that it's coming, but nobody can quite deal with it yet. And then it happens all of a sudden, and then we see a lot of, post-death.
Well, there was a lot of Wolverine dealing with his mortality in the last Wolverine comic book run. I think it was version 4, or volume 4, and he dealt with mortality a lot. Like, he almost died a few times. He didn't have his healing factor. He actually met death, like the one Thanos is in love with. And she was like, see you soon. And he was like, uh-oh. And then at the end, he didn't die. And then we just got that 4-part, like, here's a bunch of people Wolverine's dealt with in the past, and he's dead. I feel like it would have been better to have him fighting Sabretooth in that one final thing and then dying at the end of that instead of giving him a big crossover. His big Death of Wolverine.
I also think that it's like really big that he ended up dying anyway, like just in general, because like it seems like everyone else in the universe has died except for him, and like that's kind of been his thing, is like he doesn't die. It's like a big deal that he finally has and whatever.
Even people with exact copies of Wolverine's powers have died. Like, he drowned Daken in a puddle. That happened. Now he's an apocalypse horseman.
Really?
Huh.
Yeah.
But moving on to Axis, as Alex mentioned before, is the biggest crossover. We'll let him kind of summarize that so far.
Okay, so Axis has been kind of building up for a while with the Magneto comics. And so Magneto found this Nazi labor camp with mutants in it. And so Magneto's powers have been broken, but he injected himself with mutant growth hormone. And so for some reason, a few of the Avengers ended up there too, like Scarlet Witch was there. And so Magneto got captured, and then the few Avengers that were there broke him out of the death camp. And so he injects himself with the mutant growth hormone and gets his full powers back. And he ends up fighting the Red Skull and just like demolishing him with the full powers of magnetism, because Magneto was held in a labor camp in the 40s when he was a little kid. And so finally he like has him on the ground, and Magneto's like, I'm not going to kill you with magnetism. I'm going to kill you with my bare hands. And so he picks up this giant rock and drops it on the Red Skull's head.
I saw that.
Now the thing I forgot to tell you is it's been building up even longer with Uncanny Avengers. It was kind of like a crossover team between some X-Men and some Avengers. And so the big running theme in that was Red Skull had dug up Charles Xavier's body and put a part of his, like, he had put his telepathic brain on top of his own brain. And so he had like cool telepathy powers. And so in crushing his skull, it like released the psychic powers that were Onslaught, and he was the Red Onslaught. And then he had 2 Sentinels built that were meant to kill Avengers and X-Men because he'd stolen the information out of Tony Stark's head. And then the Avengers and X-Men were all there and fighting Onslaught and his 2 Sentinels. And then they lost because these things were so programmed to defeat both teams, because Tony Stark, of course, had all their weaknesses. And so Magneto, he brings back all these villains like Jin, Mystique, Hobgoblin was there, and Deadpool was there too. Deadpool made it clear that he had just caught a ride with the villains because he missed the hero bus. But yeah, then the X-Men were trying to like say that Charles Xavier's brain was still in there, and they could like maybe they could bring him back. And so Doctor Strange and the Scarlet Witch were like building this spell to bring out the Charles Xavier half of the brain, to put that in control. And then Doctor Strange got like hit by something, some explosion, whatever, it got knocked out or killed or something. And so Von Doom comes up and he's like, I can help you cast the other side. And Scarlet Witch and Von Doom have all this history from back in the day. Just Day of M. That was Victor Von Doom's fault. And so they put together the spell, Chaos and Order. And so what ends up happening is everyone there gets their, like whatever team they are, good or evil, it like switches. So all the Avengers become like bad guys, and all the villains become good guys, and you see them kind of like dealing with it. Like Carnage is like, I'm a hero now, and he's still like murdering people, but he's murdering criminals.
Oh.
He's like, you're a prostitute, cut in half.
That's really
actually
cool.
happened. And so now what they've done wrong is they put out the Superior Iron Man comic before they finished Axis, and so we're still like seeing how it all happens. Like Evan, who's an Apocalypse clone, who's a good guy, got turned evil, so he's just like full on Apocalypse now. One of the coolest things is Hulk got inverted, and so they were like, you're making Hulk sad. We wouldn't want to see Hulk when he's sad. And then he transforms into Claw, and he's like this giant black monster with a white mohawk sticking out of his head.
What?
Yeah, he's got like lava popping out of it. He looks like a black version of the Thing with like lava, and he's crazy big. And so yeah, you're just seeing a lot of different like whoa comic book moments. It's not the best like plot, but it's a lot of whoa, that's happening. But they haven't finished it yet. And in the introduction to Superior Iron Man, it was like they all got their powers, or they got their sides switched, but then they got switched back somehow. Except for Iron Man, he wasn't there, and he's still bad, but good, and whatever.
Interesting.
And so we know the ending, even though we haven't read the ending, which Marvel has a tendency to do sometimes.
Marvel.
Yeah.
Where have we seen Venom and Groot?
Venom and Groot?
Yes.
Oh, that was in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Basically, Iron Man spent a year in space, and in that time he met the Guardians, learned that they were like the Avengers of space protecting Earth.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm starting the new Avengers initiative in the Guardians of the Galaxy, where I want an Avenger to stay with you. And so he sent Captain Marvel and Venom to hang out with him. And Venom ended up getting lost. He got the Venom, the symbiote taken off of his body, and they're like trying to get him back to Earth because the symbiote's going crazy. And they've got it in a tank, and Groot was like poking the tank, and then he busted through it, and the symbiote got on Groot.
And
So that's Venom
one of
Groot.
the coolest comic pictures
Interesting.
I've seen in a long time.
Yes.
I had a bunch of DC comics on my iPad, so I just found one with Bane on the cover, and so I tweeted at these guys, Bane on Venom, and then I put the picture of Venom Groot, and I said Groot on Venom. So we'll try to include a link to that picture.
Ooh.
You will see
You'll
the
see it
picture.
somehow. I think.
Just Google it. If we don't, just Google Venom Groot, and maybe I'll put it on the internet or
Shouldn't be that hard
something.
to find, probably.
It'll pop up.
It probably. I
Unless
actually
it
probably
is.
lied. It's probably going to be really hard to find.
Search Twitter at Spidey Venom on Groot, and you might be able to find it.
For all of your Marvel Comics needs.
And
Yes.
to hear me say random statements, because that's what it mostly is.
I think the last comic arc that we really have is the Spider-Verse.
Okay, good. So another long period of me talking. All right. So the Spider-Verse has kind of been building up for a while, taking a lot of themes back pre-Civil War. Basically, they've been working on this thing for like 15 years of the Great Web. And apparently all the Spider-Mans have some impact on the universe holding together. And then you've got this like family that are slowly killing the spiders off one by one. And so I think what they're doing is they're basically just like, you like Spider-Man? We'll give you Spider-Man. And so they're like introducing new universes. Like there's when See by the Spider. You have one universe where it's Bruce Banner, as Spider-Man with sort of metallic armor. You have then they're doing back and throwing in old universes that we know about, like the MC2 universe, where it's basically an alternate future with Mayday Parker. That gets introduced with Peter and Mary Jane dying, and then she and Ben flee into the safety of the other spiders. And so I think the coolest part about the story is they've introduced a way for Dr. Octopus to stay alive even after the whole Superior Spider-Man thing. Because there was a moment in Superior Spider-Man where he got like teleported away for one panel and he was back the next panel and he was freaking out. And so they're kind of like throwing it back and being like, all right, this is what happened. He found out that the spiders were dying and he got sent into this 2099, and so he started collecting spiders. And then he found a universe where Spider-Man had never lost the Captain Universe God powers, and so they're all staying there until they can figure out this. So it's really long and complicated, but it's a lot of Spider-Man and it's kind of fun. So if you get a chance, you should check it out as best possible.
Spider-Man. I really do.
Oh, I read all the Spider-Man. That's my thing.
I mean, your Twitter handle is Spidey Bennett.
Just like
It can't be Spidey AB because this one guy who tweets like once a year still has it. I just need to spam him until he changes his name on
someone
Twitter.
has it. I don't know who it is. No, just
I thought it was Alex Urini.
no, just for
Oh, okay. Maybe that's why I can never find
I'm
you
not
when
just
I'm
at
looking for
Urini.
you. Luckily, you, Presley, and Josh all just sit at the top of my.
You could do Lex Urini, like at Lex
I'm not Lex
Urini.
Luthor. I'm not bald. That's the only comic character that I can think of
Lex.
that I share a name with, and he's the supervillain, and one that I'm not even like a huge fan of.
I would just go with
I
Alexander
did
the
for a long
Great.
time. That was the little name that I had for myself.
He started going after like different Alexes throughout history.
It was,
Nice.
yeah, me
I only
too.
know about Alexander the Great, the bisexual
Hooray.
man who conquered the world.
Alexander.
Yay! We did it. Alexes.
Yes.
I mean, not bisexuals. I mean, they did it too, but
Well,
not Alexes.
one of them was,
I guess
at
some
least.
are,
For a fact.
but
At least.
at least one.
I'll take your shovel so you don't dig a bigger hole.
That was clever.
But do either of you have any comics other than those three giant arcs that
Daredevil has been really
that you'd
good.
like to share?
I believe
Yeah.
me being the super Marvel fanboy that I am, these guys are making me read DC comics. So I read Batman up through 0 Year. I'm halfway through that. I read the first 3 issues of Superman, realized I still hate Superman. He's like, I'm too super and my parents are dead. Batman's like, my son's dead and I'm still Batman.
Yeah.
And then I'm reading Aquaman, which I'm really liking. And then Suicide Squad.
Yeah. If you don't like Superman, you should read Superboy.
Okay.
You'll like it.
Someday. I've got a 14-hour car ride, and I'm just downloading all the shows I haven't seen yet.
But
I mean, obtaining. Just no questions asked. Just had it.
Don't worry, we'll cut it out.
But I think, yeah, Superboy would be great if you don't necessarily like Superman. What is your reaction to all of the Batman? All of it.
All of the Batman? I've only read the main series Batman. I'm still going to go back and read Batman and Robin. But there is so much Batman.
There is.
That's all I can say.
They're milking Batman so much because they just have Batman, and Robin. They used to have Batman Incorporated. They have Batwoman, Batgirl.
They're like, what do people like again? They're like, Batman.
Everything.
All right, more Batman.
I think a quarter of New 52 was Batman.
Because you had
Batman,
you had Batman and Robin, you had Detective Comics, you had Batman: The Dark Knight. You had Batman: The Dark Knight. You had Teen Titans. You had Red Hood Outlaws.
Batman the Outcasts. Whatever.
Yeah, Batman Beyond.
You had Nightwing.
Batwing.
Yeah. Grayson.
Ew.
Grayson.
This is 10 so far.
Batwing was lame.
Man.
You have so many.
Hey, is Damian coming back? Have we got any news on that?
In Robin Rises, there is a comic with Damian on the cover. Is slated for January.
So Robin Rises. I just hope there's more Jesus themes. They're like, Superman's not Jesus anymore. Robin's
Damian Wayne as
Jesus.
Jesus makes me kind of happy.
Oh. And Batman is God.
The end. That's how Marvel DC
Batman
Comics
is God.
ends.
The end. They just stopped publishing everything.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, one of my personal favorites was Batman Incorporated because it was just revolving around Damian.
Batcow.
Wanted to just
Batmoo.
Batcow. Oh, Batcow was so great.
When Damian died, the issue Damian died and Batman got back to the Batcave and saw Batcow and just crouched down beside it. That was another one of those just heart-wrenching moments.
Yeah, if you read Batman and Robin, the Batman and Nightwing crossover ending will be a tearjerker.
I'll get there.
It's one of my favorite comic panels.
There was the Batman and Superman crossover where I was like, okay, maybe I like Superman, and then I read Superman and I was like, nah, I still don't like him.
You should start with Jeff Johns when he took over at 32, because Jeff Johns just makes everything awesome. Yes.
Is he the one doing Aquaman?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, he's really good.
Yeah.
He's also the chief creative officer of DC.
So he kind of has to be good.
Okay.
But you also have the artist for Batman and Superman. Jim Lee.
Jim Lee is the one who draws the people in the same pose over and over again.
Oh yeah. That's what I was. Okay,
hey, is Batman and Superman good?
That's what we just said.
Okay.
That was good.
Okay.
The art is really, really artsy,
but
if you can get past that, then it's pretty good.
Well, it's only bad when it's dark. In the light, it's amazing.
The thing I've liked about DC Comics most so far is that the art stays so consistent throughout. Like, you have the Spider-Man issues where it's, sometimes really good and sometimes it's really bad. And then you have Iron Man, which is, I feel like all should just shoot for the quality that Iron Man does. And then the one I always reference is the Dark Reign Spider-Man, which was Venom comic, where it's just so bad it looks abstract and I couldn't read it.
See, Batman Zero Year.
The colorist on that was so great. The colorist did great.
Man, that overgrown Gotham is really amazing. The detail
Greg Capullo
is also incredible.
And speaking of Gotham, I'm about to watch all of that. Haven't started yet.
What?
Gotham.
Oh, Gotham? Yeah. That you'll have to watch our weekly TV updates to hear about Gotham.
Don't listen to
But
that yet
is
because
a great
since you haven't
show.
watched, unless you want it spoiled.
Oh yes, yeah.
I've been
listen
listening
it unless you watch the show.
another superhero comic movie podcast, and so I have a lot spoiled, but not
Plus, he's been
completely. So
cheating
I'm
on
so
the
excited to
podcast.
see it.
I don't think you can cheat on podcasts because like podcasts are so like specialized.
Yeah, I
You're
listen to
supposed to
like
listen to
a lot.
podcasts.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that
by,
summarizes Marvel.
by covering DC.
By covering DC, we have officially
Listen.
summarized.
You know about Spider-Verse, Death of Wolverine. I talked about Civil War, and that's all you need to know. You're good.
Yay!
Good. Thank you, Alex, for being
You're
our
welcome.
guest on here.
Oh, wait, never mind.
My pleasure. Shut up, Alex.
And you can follow. We'll put in the description where you can follow us, Alex, our podcast account, and you can follow us on Tumblr. You can like us on Facebook.
Follow us on
and
Pinterest because we have no
just all the
followers there.
social networks.
Presley told
you
me
have
to
a
make one,
Pinterest?
so I made
The
one.
Day Podcast has an empty Pinterest. I was like, we should make every single social media.
Just in case someone wants to.
But yeah, and then of course check
DC
out DC
Comics
News, and that'll be all for today. All right.
Adios.
We will see you all later.
Peace.